I was, it's kind of gotten all over the internet. I said the other day on a radio show that the after-tax return on stockpiling toilet paper was better than a bank CD. So, but literally, I tend to run with very high inventories of non-perishable goods and anything I need. But the way to look for opportunities locally is to look at what is it that you and your neighbors need, and where is there an opportunity to provide that in a way that will ensure your supply, but is financially sound.
Kind of like us supplying the Ukiah station today to broadcast to KZYX, right?
Well, there's a great. I'll give you an example. There's a great DVD called "The Real Deal on Farmer John," or "The Real Dirt on Farmer John," and it tells the story of a farmer outside of Chicago who started a CSA, and then the people in a CSA started buying the land around him so that he could expand his operation. That's a perfect example of looking at what it is you're buying and needing and following the chain to a good investment. So there's that. The second thing on precious metals, it's really important in this environment for individuals to understand what they're investing in and why they're doing it, and taking personal responsibility to think about it strategically. And so I think we're in a long-term shift. We've been in a period when financial assets, so bank stocks and bank paper, have been predominant, and we're going into a period where real things are predominant. So whether it's the food you eat or precious metals, or it's what some people call tangibles. So we're in a world where essential service, back to basics, real things are going to be predominant, and that's going to go on for a very long time. No one knows how long that is, but I would say it's very long.
Catherine, we have a listener who just emailed in. Just north of from where we're broadcasting from, in the city of Willits, there's an initiative for what's called local economic localization, and it's probably a model that you would...
Willits is a wonderful community.
All right, so you know it, so you would endorse it. And you're going to be here soon, and we'll get to that. You're going to be back in Northern California soon in late August, and maybe we'll have you up in Willits. But the question was, assuming that these local economic models are viable and self-sufficient and self-contained, is there a need for that local economy to have a role in a larger-than-local financial world?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's, in other words, globalization wants to happen because people want to communicate with each other, and they want to network with each other, and they want to trade with each other. So to me, globalization is going to happen. The pro-centralization has one vision of globalization, and we have another vision on the pro-decentralization team. But globalization wants to happen, and so think of going local as not just doing your own place, but doing sort of a network. So, for example, I bank at a wonderful community bank run by a bunch of strict Quaker women, but it's 2,000 miles away, but it's a local bank. So to me, going local means not being intermediated by a bunch of big players. So I once was sitting in a group of women, and we realized one woman had her money in a local bank CD, was shooting that money into Citibank. Another woman had an IRA with Citibank stock, and the third woman had a Citibank credit card and was paying 23%. And we figured there was a 2,000 basis point arbitrage between the women giving their capital to Citibank and the other one borrowing it back. And that's an example, John, of intermediation. And so I think what localization means is we start trading local community to local community globally instead of going through a big centralized intermediary.
I see this scenario as playing out that I'm a pessimist. Which is maybe why I want to move to Malta.
You want to go to Dubai where there are no taxes.
And I want to go to Malta where there's corporate and tax secrecy. But having said that, I'm sure the IRS is listening. Having said that, I'm a pessimist.
Moved to Dubai so they could pay no taxes. No. We have.
No, I know.
We have major corporations going offshore and doing defense contracts from offshore because then they won't have to pay taxes or workman's compensation or Social Security and these other things.
Well, do you know who you bump into in Dubai right now? You bump into the private bankers for Cheney, for Rumsfeld,
right,
for
exactly.
Brent Scowcroft,
right.
You name it.
Right.
I'm a pessimist. I see the fact that Phil Gramm is still working as vice chairman of UBS is discouraging to me. The fact that he was even considered to be chief economic advisor to John McCain is shocking to me. It just shocks every sensibility that I have about fair play. I don't see things reversing themselves here in the United States that much. I see more bailouts. I see more bailouts with taxpayer funds. I see an increasingly wide chasm between the rich and the poor. Do you share that vision, or with the new president, hopefully Obama, do you see that meaningful reform will happen and that the current trends will reverse themselves and localization and local economies and the decentralization of power and capital is a possibility? Or do you share my pessimistic view?
Well, one of my favorite moments in TV, I haven't owned a TV for about 20 years, but one of my favorite moments was when, did you ever watch Dallas, John?
Uh-huh. Back in the day, back when I had it.
Bobby is whining to JR about. Bobby is whining to Jacques, his dad, about what JR has been doing lately, and his dad looks at him in disgust. He says, "Boy, nobody gives you power; you take it."
All right. How do we take the power back?
Right. So here is the core of the problem. In the summer of 2000, I gave a speech to a wonderful group of people who have a conference once a year about how to evolve our society spiritually. And in the middle of the speech, I was talking about the fact that the Department of Justice had recently said that the U.S. economy launders $500 billion to $1 trillion of dirty money. And so I said to this wonderful group of people, what would happen if we stopped being the global leader in laundering dirty money? And they said, well, we'd have trouble financing the government deficit, or our government checks would stop, or the stock market would go down. I said, okay, well, let's pretend there's a big red button up on the lectern, and if you push this button, you can stop all dirty money, in your community tomorrow. You can stop all hard narcotics trafficking, thus offending the people who control $500 billion to $1 trillion of all dirty money. Who here will push the button? And out of 100 people dedicated to evolving our society spiritually, guess how many would push the button?
I've read this, so I'm going to say one.
One. So I said to the other 99, why not? And they said, we don't want our government checks to stop, and we don't want our mutual funds to go down in price, and we don't want our taxes to go up. Right. So here is the question, because the pro-decentralization team controls what's going to happen. We have the power. When are we going to shift our money and shift our time and shift our attention and say, we're pushing the red button? Not only that, we're going to work to figure out how to turn the red button green. We're going to figure out how to make money shifting our money. That's, I have this new audio seminar, which I love, called Position Your Assets. And part of this is to just help people understand the knowledge that they need to start to figure out how in their own life they can turn their red button green and stop feeding this system. We have the power to change it. And so the question is, when on a